muốn mang đến cho cộng đồng, nó sẽ không trở thành cái chương trình đó. Nên Thúy Hằng nghĩ là một người lãnh đạo mơ ước, có can đảm làm, và nếu không có ai giúp cũng có thể bước cái bước đầu tiên. Cái bước đầu tiên là cái bước mà quan trọng nhất. Mình bước rồi sẽ có người bước với mình. Nhưng mà nhiều khi mình cũng không có can đảm để mà bước một mình. Nhưng mà mình biết là cộng đồng mình rất là mạnh. Mình bước rồi sẽ có người bước với mình.
Trước khi trả lời đó, before I address the definition of leadership, let me turn the table and ask you guys a question. Ở đây có bao nhiêu người nghĩ rằng cộng đồng của mình hiện nay rất là mạnh, tình trạng rất là tốt? We are in a great shape. Okay? How many? Let's rank between from 1 to 3. 3 means great. How many think that our community is in great shape? Please raise your hand. Okay, good. 3, 4, right? How many think that rank it 1, that is not in great shape at all? They're in big trouble. How many think that way? 0. 1, okay. 1, 2, 3, right? How many think that we are okay, but we need change? We can do much better. Right? Okay. My second question. Can we change that or not, the situation, to go from 2 to 3? Is it plausible? Possible? Okay. So my next question is, who will start the change? The leaders, right? You need the leaders to start the change, right? So for me, it's very simple. I'm a simple guy. Leading means what? Leading. To go from point A to point B, right? And when you lead, you need to have more than just yourself. You need to lead a team from point A to point B. That is the basic definition of leading. Có nghĩa là dẫn đường, đúng không? Dẫn đường thì phải dẫn từ điểm A đến điểm B. Chứ nếu mình đứng yên một chỗ thôi, mình đâu có cần phải leader. I know exactly where I am, right? Hoặc là mình đi vòng vòng trở lại chỗ cũ. I don't need a leader. I know exactly how to get back to the same point when I got started, right? Therefore, it's very basic. Why don't we can make it as complicated as we want to? Let's get down to the basic. Hãy trở lại cái định nghĩa rất dễ dàng. Lãnh đạo có nghĩa là đi từ điểm A đến điểm B. Điểm A là gì? Là cái nơi mà mình không có hài lòng lắm. That's a problem. We are not very satisfied with that. That's why we want to move to point B. Muốn đến điểm B là nó phải tốt hơn điểm A, phải không? Chứ không giờ mình muốn đi đến cái điểm xấu hơn. So very basic. Một người lãnh đạo là một người có thể dẫn được một tập thể đi từ cái điểm mà mình không thích lắm tới cái điểm là tốt hơn. Cái điểm mình không thích lắm là một cái vấn đề. That's we have a problem. And we want to get the solution. So the first thing is, the first characteristic of a leader is a problem solver. Chứ bây giờ chẳng hạn như tôi không cây viết, đó là vấn nạn của tôi đi phải tìm người cho tôi cây viết. It's too simple. You don't need to lead anyone. It's simple. So it has to be a big problem that you solve. So that's the first thing about leadership. Second, yes, we need to develop a vision because we have to point the way to point B. Let's work together and we can get to B. So definitely we can get the vision. But more than that, how can we get from A to B? We need to know how to think strategically, step by step. Step A would build up to step B, to step C, right? We need to roll out the entire path, roadmap on how to get there. And not only that, we need to build a vehicle to go there, right? So a leader is also an architect, a builder of that vehicle. And then you need to move a lot of people along. You need to rally resource. Mình phải quy tụ được người, được năng lực trong cộng đồng. So a leader is also a builder of movements. Để tạo được cái phong trào, để quy tụ rất nhiều người. So those are the things that make a leader. Let me recap that. A leader is someone who solves a big problem. And then develop a vision for others. So that we all know that that's where we want to get to. And then draw out a roadmap how to get there. step by step, and then build an institution so that we can go that far, and then others, the next generation, will keep going, because a big problem will take decades, or generations, or even centuries, right, to fix. And then we need to mobilize a lot of resources to the community, because that's a big, huge problem. So all these things make up a leader. Now, out there's a lot of leadership programs. I've been surveying and participating in quite a few. And all those programs train only tacticians and not leaders. They train us how to run a project, how to manage a budget, but that's not a leader in my definition of leading. So leading has to train people to think strategically long-term, and therefore a 3-day leadership training program won't satisfy that. It takes a full year at least. So we are rolling out a program that we call 500 in 5 years. And our ambition is every year we will train 100 leaders in that model. To be a strategist, a problem solver, a visionary, a clock builder, and a movement builder. So I hope that I'll have more time to describe that exciting initiative that we plan to roll out in 6 months. Thank you.
Trang xin chia sẻ 2 điểm đối với Trang khi mà Trang nghĩ đến lãnh đạo hoặc là những cá tính của lãnh đạo là cái gì, thì thật sự Trang nghĩ là cái lãnh đạo không phải là cái mục đích, nó như là một cái phương cách để đạt những cái gì đó khác. So in English, I really think of leadership as not in and of itself the goal or the purpose. It's really about figuring out what is it that you want to use leadership skills to help get done. You know, so if you're thinking about the community, how you can contribute to the community, what are the needs in the community, what are the gaps, and what am I passionate about, what do I really care about in doing the work? Is it about working with young people, supporting other youth? Is it about services? Is it about our seniors and our elderly, or working with families? To me, that's the purpose. Those are the things that you're thinking about doing, and then you're bringing leadership into the picture to help address those issues or solve those problems. So for me, leadership is a means to an end. It's not the end. And then second, I think it can be very difficult to define exactly what leadership is. I think of leadership as being very situational. Really depends on the situation and what is called for. In that situation, sometimes a situation might need a leader to be sort of very up in front, very in charge. It may be something that is urgent, critical, and somebody just has to step up and kind of be that assertive leader. But at other times, leadership may mean following and listening and being part of a team and being very collaborative. And so I think part of what it means to be an effective leader is figuring out what specific leadership skills are called for in different situations, and they can be very different.
So far, everyone has answered about what we think leadership means, and all of our answers have been very personal, how we think an individual can become a good leader, or how leadership can be built. But my next question is very geared specifically towards the Vietnamese American community. What do you think our Vietnamese American community needs in order to build good leaders, build and develop good leaders? And off of that, what do you think would an effective leadership development strategy look like in our community building?
So again, I guess it ties into what I just said. I think that what is most effective is to figure out what you're passionate about working on. What is it that the leadership is being applied to in the community work. Is it a specific program? Is it a specific organization? Is it a specific neighborhood sometimes? And then get involved with that. Figure out a program around that issue or subject matter, if you will, and then figure out what kind of leadership skills need to be brought to the table. Again, as I said, because for different issues and in different areas, what is needed may be different. So I think that on the one hand, it can be really valuable to gain general sort of leadership skills and tools, but in my experience, where I've seen it most effective is when it is applied in a specific situation. So in the community, say if we're speaking of the community locally, figuring out, okay, so what are the needs? Is it around youth? Is it around housing? Is it around something else? And what kinds of supports are needed? And then if young people are getting involved in that, what leadership skills are important for them to have in doing that work? Does that make sense?
So the question is, what do you think specifically our Vietnamese American community needs in order to build good leaders? What would a leadership development strategy look like, and some examples of the strategies that you've been a part of?
Over the years, I've been involved in a lot of different things, but in the last few, I've had the real honor and privilege to be involved with the Vietnamese Friendship Association, which Vu is introduced as the executive director of, and this is a great example of what I was talking about. I think because VFA's focus really has been and continues to be around working with young people and youth and supporting Vietnamese families, and then in the last couple of years kind of expanding that a little bit to understand needs in the community, in the Vietnamese community broadly, VFA did a project about a year and a half ago. It started called CARE, which is Community Action Research and Empowerment. And a very important part of that project was putting together a youth team, which Verlinda was involved in, and some of you here were involved in. And it was actually in the process of doing that work, figuring out community needs and doing the research, that the youth gained leadership skills. So it was very much tied to that project and applied to that work, and not kind of just like general talking about leadership.
Well, in the concept of Vietnamese Americans, as leaders, well, this is part of our training program, the 4-year training program. I'm just giving you some here as a teaser to get you interested. One of the primary aspects of leadership development is to know your strength and build up on your strength, right? And no one wants to build up on their weaknesses. And you go out and look for other people who are strong in areas that you are not, and then build a team, right? Based on the collective strength. So building on your strength. And what are the strengths of Vietnamese Americans? Can someone give me an answer, a suggestion? What are the particular strengths of Vietnamese Americans? Bilingual, that's one. What else? Family oriented? What else? Exactly. What else? Yeah, true. That's very true. So those are a few characteristics that, if we spend another 5 hours, probably we can come up with a long list of all those strengths that we have to build on. Just look at our thing of our parents who escaped from Vietnam, leaving behind everything. They head into the uncertainty, risking death, so that the children will have a better future. There's no courage greater than that. And when they came here to this country, they rebuilt everything from scratch. There's no greater example of resiliency than that, right? And they do care about the community. They do care about their family. They do care about people in Vietnam. There's no greater example of compassion than that. So those are the strengths, the courage that make up leadership. And yes, we are bicultural. and we are bilingual. And in this era of greater diversity in this country and globalization across the world, we need a special type of leaders, not just for our community, but also for this country and for humankind. And those are the bridge builders. We can build bridges among the different sectors or segments in our own community, across the different age groups in our community, between our community and other communities and mainstream society, right? And those are the strengths that this country will need, that this community will need, that this society will need, that humankind will need go into the future. And we have those strengths. So if we know how to capitalize on those strengths, we can cultivate leaders not only for our community, but for the world. So that is, again, I'm a dreamer. And we can achieve that if we know how to build our strength. And then second, if we know how to connect all these people, these great leaders of the future together. And that is a great and powerful network of leaders there. So that is basically the design of the 505 years leadership development program. And I've been working with LEAP, Leadership Education for Asian Pacific, and Vu Le had been through that training. And I look at LEAP program, I pointed out to JD that, you are not training true leaders here, JD. JD is the ED. You're training managers. And he tended to agree with that. And you are not training leaders who are bicultural. They are bridge builders between one culture and another culture. And therefore, if we want to train and develop those leaders, the leadership training program needs to be culture specific. It cannot be one size fits all. And therefore, for the past year, JD, LEAP, and BPSOS, JD and I, we've been working on developing a totally new curriculum just for that purpose. And it will work this way. It will take a full year for development to train and develop the skills and competencies. But not only that, also the concepts and the principles, the mindset of that type of new leaders. And we'll start out with 3 days of seminars, rather than be training on concept and principles. And then the participants will come together into teams, working on specific projects in the community for the full year. And every month, there will be another seminar on concepts, principles, competencies, and skills, all at the same time. And each team will have a coach, a professional coach, to coach that team on how to implement the project. And by 6 months after the start of the program, the team will come together face-to-face again to share lessons learned, best practices, and also pick up a few more concepts and principles of leadership. And then they go back and continue working on the project, but this time they don't have a coach. They do peer coaching, because now they should be at the stage where they can learn on their own. And then graduate. So in 5 years, we hope that across the country there will be 500 leaders like that. And what happened after 5 years? Does it end? No. These 500 leaders will carry on the torch and continue the work, because we now have 500 leaders to do that. So that is the program I'm pitching, and we plan to roll it out. In 6 months, we have pilot tested that program in the Gulf Coast. That is Alabama, Mississippi, and New Orleans. Thank you.
Kính thưa quý vị, vừa rồi là những lời chia sẻ từng cái cá nhân của mỗi một người mà đang ngồi ở đây trước mặt các quý vị, rằng là vì những cái đoàn thể, những cái hội đoàn mà những lãnh đạo, những người riêng ở đây làm, và họ chia sẻ những cái khó khăn cũng như những cái mà để làm sao tạo cho chúng ta được một giấc mơ, và khuyến khích chúng ta hãy nên thực hiện cái giấc mơ của mình và hãy đứng ra để gánh vác những cái công việc mà cộng đồng đang chờ đợi chúng ta, cũng như là bất cứ một cái tổ chức nào mà chúng ta cho rằng chúng ta cần phải đứng lên để vận động tất cả mọi người làm. Thì chúng tôi hy vọng rằng với những lời chia sẻ vừa rồi để giúp chúng ta có những cái khái niệm làm sao để